Well, I'm Ivory Lucas, and I've been a musician over 20 years. And what I've noticed, what I found was when I moved to Tallahassee and started playing with a lot of musicians down there, like some of these musicians were on TV, like playing with major artists. Not gonna name drop, but when I say major artists, but like they were broke. I'm like, dude, you're on TV. Like, I'm looking at you on TV, but you're broke. So I'm like, at the time I was in the MBA program, so I'm like, well, I've got to figure out a way that I can help my friends and just help people in general, because I don't think as artists, we don't really focus on that part, the business aspect of it, because we're always looking forward to the next gig. Like how, one of the sayings that a lot of my friends would say, we want to get on. We want to get on the big stage. Like, and what was interesting was when I started talking to some of the people that were actually making money, it wasn't necessarily always the big stage. Because if we think about it, if we look at the way record deals and all work, there's a loan, and you've got to deliver. So if you are in debt to the record company or whoever, like you're really not making any money because you're paying it back to them. And so I think we need to, as artists, just think about different ways that we're gonna make money, because I know it's not about making money. Like, let me back up, because one of the stigmas is like, oh, we're artists, it's not about the money. But at the same time, even if you're a nonprofit, you still gotta keep the lights on. Like the Georgia Power or whoever, they don't care about your social mission. They want their money at the end of the month. So you've got to find a way to make money and still do what you love. So one of the things that my research is based on is that narrative of getting rid of that narrative of the starving artist. Like, I can't stand that. Because it almost says like, if you're an artist, you're gonna be broke. And you're always gonna be starving, and that's not necessarily the truth. We've just got to find a way to reconceptualize what we do. For instance, I meant to bring it, but I didn't bring it today. You all are familiar with guitar. Most guitars, there's a pick guard, right? That protects while you're playing or while you're plucking. Well, okay. Most pick guards come in black or white. That's standard. You know how hard it is to get a custom pick guard? Like, it takes like 4 weeks to get a custom pick guard. I'm like, I'm around artists all the time. Like, why haven't we figured out, like, as a community, like, like who's gonna customize the guitar pick guards? You know, like it's something simple as that. Because if you're a visual artist, like you're in that space, but you're not thinking about what's possible in my space. In my mind, I'm thinking like, well, we have all of these artists, but we've never figured out like, what do you need on your end that I can help you with? Because this is, imagine like as visual artists, if you're able to take a pick guard, someone, because most people that play like myself, we're proud of our guitars. So we want to show them off, but what else are we proud of? Like our family. So what if we found a way to put a portrait of our family, a silhouette of our family on our guitar? And so every time I hit the stage, like people see this custom piece. They not only see my guitar, they see my family. So it's thinking about ways to take your art to a different, medium. And I say this, and my school teachers are going to cringe, but the world is flat now. Like, if you don't believe it, like, ask the online teachers. Like, your neighbor today could be in China, your neighbor today could be in Brazil. Your neighbor today, that's what I mean by the world is flat, not geographically, but the world is flat socially. Our, our community worldwide, our community is worldwide now. And if we think about art in that way, I think we'll be opened up to, endless possibilities. So, just to give you some background on where I come from, because it hasn't been until recently that I've started thinking about what's driving my entrepreneurial, because it'll keep me up at night. Like, if I know that you have a business, like, I'm thinking at night, like, what can I do to help Christina? Like what can she do? Like, what can we do? Like, I'm thinking like that. And then, so I started looking back on how I grew up. One of my grandfathers had an eyeglass shop. Well, he started as a delivery boy and delivered eyeglasses. And what happened was the company went under. And so he was like, well, I know how to do this, so let me try to buy the business. So him and a business partner, Mr. Olsby, bought the business in 1983 and ran it up until 2 years before he passed. And so I remember going to my grandfather's eyelash shop and him serving the community. And it was always about serving people, and it was that thing that kept him going. It wasn't about the money. And just like the arts, like, we know it's, for us, it's about passion more so than making the money. So for him, it was like making those eyeglasses, and like even down to when he was sick, he would still, like, someone would come visit, and he was like, let me fix your eyeglasses for you. And so he would fix them so they would fit right. And then I had my other grandfather who was a farmer. So we would work in the fields during the day, and at the end of the week, I think it was Thursday, we would drive to Thomasville because I'm from Valdosta. So we would come over to the farmer's market to sell the produce that he had created, that he had produced. Like those seeds he had sown in the field, we harvested them, and then we were able to take it to market. And then the other piece was, that was like on Thursday. Well, on Friday, what didn't sell at the market, he took around town to peddle. We called it peddling. Like, so my grandfather, and we used to love that because, whether it's watermelons or squash or whatever, like seeing this product that he created, that we were there from when they planted it to when we harvested it, and then we went to the market, and then what didn't sell there, we would take it. So when you start thinking like that, it opens up like, oh, that's why I think like this. I never thought about why that was my thought process, but looking back at it, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense why I want to create music. That's why I want people to hear what I make. That's why I'm thinking about how to take it to different avenues, because of those different processes from when I was raised. So my business launch, I've been a musician for over 20 years. And one of my hobbies was buying and trading guitars. Like, my wife and I would go on vacation, and I would take guitars with me that I wanted to trade and find people in whatever city we were in and work out trade deals and stuff like that. Well, over time, I was able to build a network of different musicians that I had all around from just buying and trading guitars. So what I recognized was, as far as the need aspect was, we needed a way. I like a certain type of guitar strings, but some of the companies that made them were so large and the price was just, I have a lot of guitars. So for me to put the brand of string that I like on my guitars, it would cost too much. And so I was able to work out with manufacturing a comparable string for what I like at a price that was almost half of what the competitors were offering. So I found the need, and then I had my tribe. Seth Godwin says, in order to establish a tribe, you've got to find people with a common interests and a way to communicate. Well, a lot of these people, we're on different forums together, and now we have Facebook groups, and so the way to communicate was there, and having similar passions was there. So now it was getting the tribe to share the vision. And I was like, I'm in, say, month 3 of my business launch. So you would be amazed, like I was saying, some of the people that you see on TV, like they're within this musician network, and I can't say their names because they're under different contracts with major labels, but I had someone reach out to me last night and say, here's a demo. I purchased some of your strings. Here's a demo of me playing them. I can't publicly post a video because I'm under contract with another major company, but I like what you're doing and I want to support you. So here we see that vision of the tribe, like sharing the vision amongst others. So what this individual said, he said, because I'm under contract, I can't publicly, but I'm going to send this video and tell others in my network about your product. So we see the tribe that was established through buying and trading guitars. Now this same tribe is behind the mission of promoting my strings. And establishing the strings, I found people that were in the industry even longer than myself. So I'm like, when I started trying out different samples, I sent the samples to people that had more experience than me. I'm like, here, try these out, let me know what you think. So based on that, we can take that information and make whatever changes were necessary. So once I did that and got the product, now we have a product that's been tried and true by people within the industry.
Can I ask a question real quick about the tribe?
Yes.
I think that's so important, and it sounds like with you and the traveling that you were doing and trading guitars, like that's where some of those connections were made. And now when people aren't traveling, and it sounds like you also maybe do some online discussion groups, but where have you, like specifically, what are those sites, like is it a Facebook group? And you guys may have experience in this too, Jed, of like, where are your tribes when we're not in person trading guitars right now or at performances? Like where are you
The forums.
The forums on
Yes.
like Reddit forums or?
It's one of the major forums that bass players go to is TalkBass.
Okay.
It's a online forum. They have an online store.
So it's like a website that has a
it's a
discussion
website and it has that community. But the other piece to that is keeping people engaged just personally, like via text message. Like, because when COVID first happened, most people didn't know what to expect. So everybody was scared. They weren't trying to buy anything. And so I started just texting people that I know, like, hey, what's going on? Just checking on you. And by doing it one on one, I was able to, like, if you had a need and I had someone over here, like, if I knew this person had the tools that you needed, be able to connect the two. So you keep the tribe, because everyone was shook when the pandemic happened. Like like the music store shut down.
Yeah.
And I went to Guitar Center one day. I needed something. And, like, doors are closed. Like, what am I supposed to do? But by having the open lines of communication through just text messages, I get group chats from different like musicians in Atlanta, like these, and so they'll know what's going on in Atlanta and send me if someone is looking to trade a guitar. It's like, hey, such and such has a guitar over here. We thought about you, and so it keeps that alive because we can't gather.
Right.
And so I found that being online and communicating that way in those different groups helps the tribe.
Yeah.
And like in doing this in the market research, like we'll get to that in a few, but one of the things everyone's like, because the first line of strings I did was nickel plated, but the other main type for bass strings is stainless steel. Everyone's like, when are you gonna do stainless steel? Like, I'll get there. But I can't rush it. And one of the things that when you're building a business, you've got to build to scale. And you can't build too fast. And it's got to be calculated as you build. Because I could invest everything I've already made back and not have anything to live on. So like my grandfather used to tell me, he was like, made eyeglasses. It was like, you've got to have the ability to not spend everything you bring in because you never know when the highs and lows are going to be. And like a lot of us didn't know where the lows were going to be when COVID hit. Like we weren't prepared for it because we didn't know. And so one of the number one ways to succeed, to fail is to succeed without being prepared. Like I think sometimes people want success, but they don't know what success brings. Like as an artist, I see how unorganized some of us are. And just think about it. If you got called for 100 gigs for the rest of the year, like, would you have the ability to to make it happen? Like,
Absolutely not.
yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm like, so sometimes success, if we don't like put a governor on it and say, okay, I can't accept every opportunity. Because some of my most talented friends, like that's some of the lessons that we look back at now, like, hey man, do you remember when you double booked that gig and like you were supposed to be on stage here, but you were playing here? It happens a lot, and especially with younger musicians because they want to succeed, they want to make it to the big stage, they want people to know who they are, and you have to pace yourself. So
one thing I might add, is I know a lot of people when they first want to start a little business or something, they think of clothing or something like that. So they might come up with a t-shirt design. And one thing I guess I've kind of picked up working in marketing is, people want to sell a lot of what they've got, but you don't always necessarily know what works when you're starting out.
yes.
And so, somebody would be like, I like this shirt design, so I'm going to make it. And then, it might not sell that well, but there could be another design that they make that sells great. but they buy a whole bunch of stock from the manufacturer of 500 of these designs, and you're just finding out that this is the one that works, not that one. So I think it's important to kind of start out testing the waters a lot more before you really
That's so true. This book called Wickonomics. So essentially, there used to be a top-down approach. So, like you say, I made this shirt. You're gonna buy the shirt I made. Not necessarily what you want, but this is what I produce. I'm gonna market it to you, and you're gonna buy the shirt that I made. That's the old model.
Yeah.
Like, that's the old model. The new model is, what kind of shirt do you want? I'm gonna make that shirt. So the new approach is the bottom-up approach. Like, you're gonna see that even down to toys and stuff like that. The manufacturers used to just push the next item on consumers, but now there's a concept called the prosumer, where the person at the bottom tells the producer what to make. And in music, we see it all the time. I hate to say it, but like, we're only going to produce, like, the major labels say, we're not going to risk this artist over here that's unique, because we know just a cookie cutter person is going to sell such and such amount of albums. And so we see that, but I see the shift just as we see it with manufacturing. Like, the shift is now that bottom-up approach, where we no longer want you to just give us something, because that's why we're seeing the rise of so many independent artists. Because people are tired of you just giving us a cookie cutter, like, okay, this is just another version of Toby Keith. Like, this is your new Keith Urban. Like, or whoever is your person is like a new, like, this is just a new young version of them. And so we're seeing a shift, like, no. This is what we like, and this is what we demand. And you either give us what we want, or we'll move on. For example, there's a artist named P.J. Morton. P.J. Morton has been out for years and years and years. Well, when he first came out, everybody was like, this guy's weird. Like, he's like the weird piano player wears a beanie. Like, for years and years. And then, over time, he got picked up by Maroon 5. So then you got a new group of people that are following him now. And then within the last 2 years, now it's like he's at the top of the charts. Like, he's the greatest thing ever. Like, this is the same guy that everybody thought was weird. But we're seeing that shift. We're seeing that shift where we're no longer just gonna take you just giving us somebody. Like, this guy's unique, and we've recognized that he's unique, so we're gonna support him. And it's good to see as an artist, because you think, like, if I'm original, nobody's gonna support me. They just want another copy of somebody else. But if you stick with it long term, I see the benefits of sticking with who you are uniquely and just finding a new way, because, like, the world, not geographic, but the world is flat. There's someone out there that's going to take pride and value in who you are. So when I studied entrepreneurship in the arts, because there's that stigma, like, we're artists, it's not about the money. But 80% of all new businesses, all new jobs in the US are entrepreneurial. They're small businesses, they're businesses created with passion. And there's a survey of 200,000 entrepreneurs, like, why did you do it? And it said, because I wanted to work in my passion, and I wanted to have that life balance, and I wanted to be able to provide a living. So it's $63 billion generated within the arts each year. And as we look at that number, like, that's a lot of revenue that's generated from us that we have to capitalize off of. Because let's say if you're having a concert, someone comes to Thomasville to hear you, now you've generated revenue for the restaurants. If they stay overnight, you've generated revenue and taxes for the hotels just by you putting on a concert. So we've got to start thinking about it in a way like we're not just the starving artists. We're one of the thriving reasons the economy keeps going, because we're here for a reason, for a purpose. If you put on a show and people come to Thomasville from out of town to see your artwork, like, people need to know that you're the reason they came here. And I think a lot of times we keep the blinders on because we're focused on, like, okay, this is what I have going on, but not thinking about how it affects the ecosystem as a whole economically. And so there's a new term because some people have this theory like, quit your job today and go do what you love. That works for some, but it doesn't work for all. There's a new term called entrepreneurship, where sometimes it's referred to as people working in an organization and doing something innovative. Because another term that people like to coin as a definition for entrepreneurship is innovation. But the other way entrepreneurship is being used is taking your job to fund your business. So this theory says, I'm not gonna quit my job yet. I'm gonna take my job and fund my business until my business grows enough where I can quit my job. So that's somewhat where I am. I don't ever see myself like quitting academia because it's what I love, but I take my job to fund my business. And one of the major barriers to entry for entrepreneurs is startup capital. And so what you find is startup capital for a lot of people like Barry Gordy, for example, he took an $800 loan from his family and started Motown Records and all of that. So what we see is you've got to have startup capital. And the lack of startup capital is what keeps a lot of people from working entrepreneurially. So I like the concept of entrepreneurship. You know, we're looking for donations and all this. No, we need this to stay in business, but at the same time, you don't realize, we want you to realize what we're doing for the community. Like all of the aesthetics that you'd have never think about that we're responsible for. Like, we're not begging, we want you to see like what all we have to offer outside of just your donation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like the entrepreneur can't talk, but you know, it's like a good thing about it rather than, just the whole drop everything and, go into business is, one, you're not going to be quite as, spontaneous with it, and you're going to want to do it the right way. a lot more. Whereas if you are spontaneous with it, I know, like, say somebody gives you $1,000 randomly, you're gonna think about, putting it on a car or this or that, rather than, oh, I could be smart with this, put this little bit of money in the stock market, this little money here,
Yes.
So you're gonna be, if you're working at the same time, I feel like, at least I know I am, you're gonna be a lot more courteous about planning with it rather than just jumping in. So I think it is important and probably a better critical way to do it than just the.
Definitely. Like, I forgot where the research came from, but it showed that if you're spending your money on an entrepreneurial endeavor, you think about it more, and versus if I got $1,000 donation and I need to spend it on something, I'm not thinking about it. Like, I'm thinking about it, but not like I had to work, several weeks to make this money, and how do I plan to invest it? So I'm really gonna sit down and think about this, because it took me several weeks to make this $1,000. Versus if I got $1,000 donation, like, I need a new camera. Like, I'm going to buy a new camera. Versus if I saved up my own money from working, now I got to think about, like, okay, maybe I don't need a new camera. Maybe I can just update the lens and, put back the rest of the money for later on. So it's a good point. It's so true. You think about it in a different way when it's your money and you're using that entrepreneurship model.
I have a question actually. What do you find is the best way to get people to understand like the value that artists produce? Because like you were saying, like the idea that artists are begging or whatever, that kind of implies that there's no value in the service that you're offering. Because like you're not asking for money for free, you're not asking for money without a service, like your like work is important. So, and is it just as simple as like artists like knowing that themselves and like communicating that and projecting that, or I just don't know how you've seen that playing out in your world and your perspective.
Well, I will tell you this. What I have realized is, one, you have to do it yourself. Like, deep down inside,
You have to believe there's value.
you have to believe it in yourself. Because that's step one. Like, you've got to, because the world is going. I told my son, like, the other day, he plays piano and has people following him, and got a shout out from like one of his favorite artists on Instagram. And so he was here. I said, okay, that's fine. But you've got to realize there's going to be a whole nother world of people out there that are going to criticize your work. And so you, as artists, we have to know that our work is valuable. One, because people that know you and have grown up, like, they may see you as the little kid that you were, 10 years ago. And so it's hard to convince them, like, I'm an artist. And so what I found is a lot of times it takes people that you know personally, and people like that you're related to, it takes them longer to get it than it does the world. So a lot of times, like I say, your neighbor may be a person in Texas who values your work. A lot of times it's having that confidence in, I know I have a valuable work, and I'm going to keep grinding. And eventually, what I've seen happen so many times before is people out here realize you're great, and then it comes in. So people in Tallahassee, outside your circle, may start saying, wow, have you seen my art? But the people that know you, like, they still see you as the student, and so you have to know that, like, I have something valuable. I'm going to keep pushing until the world realizes what I have to offer. And a lot of times the world is going to realize it before those that are close to you realize it. And it's sad to say, but it's so true because I think they downplay it because because you're reachable. Like someone in Texas may not be able to come by the gallery to see your work. So they're seeing the portrait, but the person in Tallahassee, oh, you're accessible. Like I can just go by this street and see that work. And so they may not value it like the world will, but once the world realizes the value, then those that are close, they realize the value. But it's a battle, and it's a confidence challenge because, like, I know I have a good product. I know this song is good, but nobody's listening to my song until like this random person over here starts listening to my song. I'm like, because if you look at analytics, when I look at analytics when I release a song, what's interesting is like first few weeks you'll see the song being played like in your local area, but after that, like it's people in other countries listening to the song, and I'm like, how did they even hear about it? So it's like I'm getting more support from like around the world than people. I'm like, I'm not seeing Thomasville analytics, but I'm seeing, major cities. So it's, I gotta know, like I have something good to offer. So deciding on a business model. There's several different types of businesses, but most of us are going to be in sole proprietorship. You have complete control. We like control. We're artists. We create things. We want control. But there's another aspect that I want to mention because we've got to partner our strengths with our weaknesses. And partnerships is another type of business form, but partnerships for us allows us to utilize our strength and have someone to come in and accommodate our weaknesses. But like we say, okay, if you got 100 gigs the rest of the year, who's going to help you schedule it? Would it be better to have someone that's good at scheduling but a horrible artist? So now we have a partnership. This person may be good at marketing. This person may be good at scheduling. So we established, I have this product and this person has this strength. So we're going to partner and create a business so that my strength is partnered with someone that has strength in an area that I'm weak in. And so you have corporations and you have limited liability companies where, let's say I'm working with kids and want to make sure if someone is hurt or something, I don't lose my house and all of my assets. So you would set up a limited liability company. And then the fourth model that I want to talk about is because it's a model that is slightly new, but it's a model that a lot of arts organizations are utilizing. That's the low profit LC3. Whereas you have a for-profit portion, but you have a nonprofit portion. And so this model is basically, I'm in business, but I'm going to make a profit, low profit, but my business is focused on something benefiting society, like a social good. Interesting story. It was a young lady in Atlanta that her mission was feeding the homeless. So she started cooking for the homeless and like setting up like mobile, soup kitchens. Well, She was like, this is a good idea, but I can only feed so many people. Like, I'm spending my money. She said she was couponing. And so she created an app that's like Uber Eats, but it's for like the restaurants. If a restaurant, after a certain amount of time, they have to get rid of this food. Well, she's like, well, we shouldn't we shouldn't throw away this food when we can give it to the homeless. So she established a company that goes around, like it's an app that goes around, like if Publix is getting rid of their rotisserie chickens at 2:00, the app will have someone to pick up the rotisserie chickens from Publix and take it to the homeless. So now, but to pay the drivers, she has to make a profit to be able to pay the drivers to go pick up the food from Publix. So she established the LC3 where now you have the social good, but yet she's employing people. So you have the aspect where my passion is meeting the mission of something that I am passionate about. So we've got to make money, but at the same time, like I want to benefit society. So we see that L3C model is beneficial at times. So who is your tribe? Like shared interests, like Seth says, you got to have shared interests and communication. So as you, all right. As you do as you look at who your tribe is, you have to find an overview of just what's going on in the industry. Because if I don't know what's going on in the industry, like I don't know where I fit. And then you've got to realize who your market is. Because there's an interesting saying, the difference between an entrepreneur and a hustler is, like you say, a hustler just wants to sell like CDs out the back of a trunk to anybody. But the entrepreneur knows who their market is. And they're gonna target their market and come up with the plan to reach that market. That's the difference. So if you got t-shirts, just general t-shirts, and you're standing on the corner, like t-shirts, like that may not be your market. And so that's just a hustle. Like you just hustling, trying to make $1. But when you have market experience, you know, like this shirt design is fitting for someone between 14 and 24. This is my market. So this is who I'm gonna target. Then know the competition, who am I competing with? Like how many other t-shirt manufacturers and designers are out there? How many other musicians are out there in that market, in that space? And then price and placement. Price and placement is important because you don't want to price yourself out of the market, but at the same time, you don't want to have a price so low that everybody wants you because you're cheap. Like, so the price and promotion is very important when you're thinking about how many gigs can I do? What is my goal for the year? If I want to do like 52 gigs a year, it's like a gig a week, like what am I going to price my services at? So what makes me different? You've got to find a way to be different from the competition. And what's different about the product that I created was one, the price point, and two, I have a specific sound that I was going for. So I found people that emulate that sound, and I have them to promote my product. So you have other companies that are out there, like there are hundreds of string manufacturers. So, but they're, I hate to say this, they're hustling. Like, you want some of these strings? You want some of these strings? Like, buy our strings. Versus, like, I got this person playing these strings. See what they sound like? This person selling these strings. See what they sound like. So you have, that's where I fit within the market. You have to create something that's unique so that you're not competing with everybody on the same thing. So as a songwriter, I gave the example of PJ Morgan. Like, okay, people said PJ is this weird guy, but he continued to be who he was. So if he's unique, you can't compete with somebody that's unique. Like, that's their sound, that's their creation. So when you're looking at competition, like, it's not apples to apples because like this person is unique. So remember, as you go to the market and whatever you create, like what's gonna make you unique? What's gonna set you apart from everybody else? Because there may be 10 people in that same space that you're working in, but what's gonna keep you, like what's gonna make them call you versus the next person? And like I said, price is not always the best option because I heard an interesting story. Someone said, like, I was running and running and running and like serving all these different people. And what happened was I increased my prices. So the number of people I was helping decreased, but my quality went up because I was able to devote more time to the people that I served. So if you have 10 jobs paying this, and I've got to focus on 10 jobs because I'm so cheap, people are going for me. Well, it may be better to serve 3 people at a higher price and give them a higher quality product. So as you do that, and then the fact that people like limited edition. I don't follow fashion like that, but a lot of the companies I follow are doing the unique drop. Well, we're offering this t-shirt this month, and this is the only time you're gonna get this design t-shirt because it's limited edition. It's not gonna be mass produced. We're gonna make a certain amount, and then you're not gonna be able to get it anymore. So you see a completely different marketing approach, whereas it's not just like, because so long people have said, okay, consumers will buy whatever we put out there, and we're just going to push a lot of it out there. Now people want to be unique. Everyone wants their own custom design. Everyone, so we see where the trend is going for the limited edition. So sometimes it's best to limit yourself to your target artist audience and focus on the audience versus, just going like we're going to serve everybody, because it doesn't work out.
It's kind of like, that want to be different now is just growing. And, the market is becoming so saturated because there are more people that are saying, oh, yeah, I want to be different. But, there's trends. And so there are certain things that make you show you're different a lot easier than some things. So it's like a hunt for those things.
Yeah.
So as, a business, you're wanting to show people, the thing that's going to make them the most different. So if you can do that, then you'll win. But it's a battle because you don't know what.
So true.
What sticks out to people. So.
And finding that is a part of that market research. Mm-hmm. You've got to try different things to find out what works for you.
Yeah. Because
sometimes, like what you have in mind might not work. And I like to use the example a lot of times. A lot of times bands, they get stuck on, we want to play these songs. Radio songs aren't party songs. Like there's a whole, like if I have a wedding reception, like there's a list of songs that probably need to be played in this wedding reception. And they might not be your favorite songs, it's in general, but it's like knowing the market, knowing what the consumers want versus like I'm just, this is our band, this is what, no. You can go down that road if you want, but if that's not what the consumers want, like you've got to create like what the consumer wants and deliver.
Yeah.
Like they want that unique. Like one of my good friends, he's in a wedding band, a corporate band, and like what sets him apart, what I'm saying, like they're out on the dance floor with the bride and groom. Like they're dancing and playing, and the music is going, and like so they're part of the party. And so, do I want to call that band, or do I just want to call the band that's just going to be on stage and play a bunch of songs until the end of the night? Like you've got to have those things that stick out, that make you different from everybody else.
Ivory, can I interrupt real quick? Because I just realized this is going really fast. It's already 4 o'clock.
Whoa.
And I know we had said we'd give some time to workshop, but if people needed to head out, I wanted to give them that opportunity. But I know we haven't even gotten into digging into. I know it goes fast. So we may want to. Do you two have time to? Okay. Jonah just said I know we are maybe going over because we haven't even dug into the workshopping, but if you guys are good for hanging around, do we want to do some workshopping?
Yeah.
Of ideas? Okay.